I came across several videos claiming that precious metal usually fall before surging to a new high again. However, none of them provided the actual statistics. Therefore, I decided to analyze the historical data for gold and silver to see if this assertion is accurate. Let's dig in. This analysis is based on technical studies and does not constitute financial advice. Please consult your licensed broker before investing. In this study, I'm switching from the regular to the lock mode, as you can see here. And this skill makes historical peaks and trough easier to see because it plots the price movement based on percentage changes rather than the absolute dollar amount. For example, a move from say $10 to $20 and a move from $1,000 to $2,000, and both represents 100% increase. But when I switch to a regular price mode, say for example like this, then we're missing out a lot of observation here, say for between $10 to $20. And let me switch back to the lock mode again. And here we could see the significant peaks and trough throughout the history. And let me just keep our tutorial objective very clear here. And what we are trying to determine is the observation historically in both gold and silver fall before breaking its new high. And let's look at the gold. And before it break the new high at $43 back then, there was a fall of 19%. And then before it break this new high then at 195, it fall 49%. And before it broke this new high somewhere at around $900, there was a fall of 40%. And before it broke a new high of about 1,900 US dollars, there was a fall or retracement at 46%. And today there was a fall of 28%. And let's look at the silver as well. I think silver is even more interesting here is that before it broke this new high in the 60s at 250, there was a fall at 48%. And before it broke this high at 670, there was a fall or retracement at 43%. And before it broke this new high somewhere around here, it broke slightly. As you could see, there was a fall of 44%. So it's before it broke this high again at around 49 plus. There was a fall 44%, 42%. Or you can take this fall as well, it's even deeper. And then it broke this new high this year. And the highest point that we saw was 121 US dollars. And this fall is significant, of course, in the time span. Just of last 5 months, we could not see that. But let me just switch to the regular mode here. And we could see that, in fact, this fall was 50%. So does it mean that because the topic is that we observed that before it broke new high, there was a serious fall or retracement historically before it broke a new high. So we're seeing that right now. So what is the market trying to suggest to us? So what is this study trying to achieve? If precious metals started to break their previous high, what will happen to the rest of the markets? And let's go back to the gold market again. So some of us may still be familiar with the dot-com crash in the year 2000. Let's do a case study, start from the dot-com crash in 2000. So when the precious metals started moving higher after the crash, the whole key tutorial here is that after the crash, the precious metals started to move higher. So what happened here is that in 2000, we saw the dot-com crash. So the stock market crash when the precious metals started to move higher. So the crash lasted for about 3 years and they started to recover in the year 2003. And then we have the '08 crisis. It was here. So we could see that as '08 crisis, it did some retracement for the gold. And when gold and silver started to move higher, so what happened then was the '08 housing bubble and the stock market crashed. And then we have the 2020, that was the year 2020 was what happened to the year 2020. It was here. Here, the gold started to move up, so is the silver. And what was the event that caused the stock market to crash as well? It was during the COVID lockdown, the year 2020. Then comes the year 2022. It was here, and we could see that the gold started to move up again, and especially for silver, it started to move up again as well. So what was the event back then for the whole entire year in 2022? Whole year, the stock market went into a bear market because the inflation reached a high of 9%. So just to recap on the relationship between when precious metals start to surge, we saw some turbulence in the stock market. So this correction may seem um, minor for gold, and let's go back to the regular mode, or even we could see that it's down 28%. Let me just go back to the long mode for this case study here. So we will have a better appreciation of this correction. So is silver, what we're seeing here, that silver correction is even greater. So what does it mean here? That I want to point out here is that beyond equities, what we're seeing here is the dollar Swiss. Yeah, beyond equities, when precious metals start to surge as well, the dollar loses its value. And let's go back to the year 2000, and that's where the we studied earlier, when the gold start to appreciate, dollar loses value. How about in '08? '08 is somewhere around here. There was '08, the dot-com crisis, or the gold start to surge. We saw the dollar, US dollar, loses its value. And the year 2020, it was here. 2020, it was here. We saw that the dollar loses its value. And so is the year 2022. The dollar loses its value when the gold start to move up. So on the technical front, there are some indicators lately that the precious metal have some technical support. And last week I did a webinar and also did a physical seminar, not in Singapore but overseas, that we pointed out that as the week close, so then of course we do not have understanding how the week is going to close, but we observed that the support could be near at around 60 level, because historically it's pointing to me that around 60 there's some support. So the midweek of last week during the webinar, I did point out that if the wick closed above with this potential, I suspect back then, I reckon that that could be an inverted hammer. So it did perform. So this week and the rest of the week to me is pretty clear. And I'm seeing that the market should have some rebound, but it may continue to range bound in this range. This was a tutorial that I shared in early Feb this year. And the title was Silver Ranges Before Heading Up Again. So it reaches high, it starts to move down, but I suspect that it may do a range bound. And as time passed, it did. So I believe that the silver, the precious metal, is going to continue this range bound before it start to break its new high again. And therefore, I'm taking this opportunity to hedge with the precious metals on what may be coming ahead. If you find what I just shared is useful, please like it and save the link for future reference, and also to share this link to your friends. My name is Con Hao. I enjoy studying how different markets currently behave to uncover emerging trends, the potential trending markets of tomorrow. Feel free to leave any comments below. I love to exchange ideas with you on what is about to come. Really happy that you stay through this tutorial. You have many great trading weeks ahead.